In China, there are 7 different keys, but in the global version, there are none. And did you know the main premium currency is different depending on the version? Or that in China, they have actual card skins? Here are 25 differences between the Chinese version of Clash Royale and the rest of the world.
Let's do this.
All right, let's get one big thing out of the way. Gems are the main premium currency, right? You buy it with real money, and then you have gems to spend wherever you want. However, in China, before buying gems, you need to buy these special tickets, which is basically money that you can only spend in Clash Royale. It's sort of like a middleman and used to dodge strict anti-gambling and microtransaction laws in China. For example, to buy entries into a literal lottery system, aka a gacha system that is absent from the global version. How this works is there is a vending machine and you have to spend these coins for one spin. And once you give them the coins, it'll randomly pick a reward. In this case, it was for evolutions. But this is a paid feature. You don't get these coins from random events or chests or anything like that. And this is the exact same way you get skins. We all know of the star point system. You upgrade a troop's star level with star points and they give you some gold effects and some cool skin changes, right? The Chinese version also has this, but they may as well not because they have something way cooler. Actual skins that look cool. At first they started with the golden ones, so the golden P.E.K.K.A, Valkyrie, and Mega Nut. But eventually they started to branch out. Some of my favorites are the Wizard, Queen, Zappies, I don't know what's going on there, but they look cool. And the Firecracker, she looks completely different. Unfortunately though, like I said, the way you unlock these is through the gacha system. So you buy special coins to spin the lotto and allegedly get a random reward. But yeah, it looks like the skin is the very last thing you get. So it's a money grab. You know what else is a money grab? Having 7 different keys. The global version did have keys at one point to open the regular chest, which has since been removed, but these keys do not open your chest, they open shop offers. Yes, in the shop, there is a tab full of these chests of different rarities, and essentially, the different keys open those specific rarities. And each offer features card packs that you can get. But don't be deceived, the chest can contain any card, and pulling 20 of a certain legendary, like it says you can, is extremely rare. Like, look at these numbers, 0.002 per, I've never seen more zeros in my life. Basically, you're never getting those 20x legendaries. Now these keys do cost money, there's countless offers for them, but fortunately, it looks like you can win some of them from events and like chests. Speaking of events, the tournaments tab was once a bustling place where they'd show a lot of them. But for a while, it's been disabled and who knows what they'll do with it. But not if you're in China. It appears that tab is back in business. It's nothing crazy though. It looks like announcements tab for the various events and game modes they have going on during that season. But now that we're on the topic of game modes, did you know the Chaos mode was originally a Chinese exclusive? Yes, it was available there in December 2025, and back then, you needed these golden tickets to enter a match. And Pass Royale buyers got a special unlimited entries ticket. Color me surprised. Once in, it was the usual Chaos you all know and love, though I do believe some of the modifiers were different. Anyway, the global version would get Chaos mode months later in March 2026. But some game modes we never got. Like the Defend the King mode. Boy, what a game mode. This is a PvE, meaning it's single player. And essentially what it is you fight waves of enemies against the AI, and man, it can get real wacky and insane the more you progress through it. The AI turns it up a notch. It spawns more troops, the levels increase, and it even spawns bosses. These are like over-level cards, like a level 55 P.E.K.K.A or Mega Nut. And you gotta defend it, which is very hard. It's crazy, but it looks really fun. It also has its own league, which comes with its own rewards and leaderboards, and it also has special rules. If you bring the featured cards, you can get more elixir during the match. It does appear to be a seasonal mode, so sometimes it's not there, but it does come around very often, and one time it even came back as a 2v2 mode. Then there was this other game mode, which is sort of like a defend the safe thing. Every match, the game picks who will be the defender or attacker. And in the attacker side, it's actually 2 players, so it's 2 versus 1. But that's not the craziest part. As the defender, you get a very OP card. These are usually OP versions of an existing card that has some crazy ability and costs 15 elixir or something. Yes, if you haven't noticed, you have way more elixir in this mode. It's very chaotic. Like in this match, we see a 14 elixir Inferno Tower that was level 27, and it had some crazy range and charged up very quick. But not all special events are game modes. There's one event that is literally betting. You are presented with scenarios. Can this P.E.K.K.A defeat 9 princesses or 2 lumberjacks versus inferno dragons or something like that? And you have to bet on the card you think will whoop the other one. If you guess right, you get a lucky drop, and if you're wrong, you get negative gems. Nah, I'm kidding, but you do get the lucky drop for winning. Obviously, this is probably something that won't be coming to a global version near you anytime soon. You know what I want to see soon? An increase to the emotes we are shown every day. It's currently only 3, which feels very limiting. That's why in China, they bumped it up to 6. They get it. Yes, you can say I'm peanut butter and jealous. I'm also jealous of the countless emotes they have that we don't. First off, who is that? Is that supposed to be some kind of creator or a card that I'm not aware of? I don't know. But yeah, there are tons. Look at that pig, dude. And bro, what did they do to my boy? Got him out here looking all sus. I believe the funniest and most well-known one is that they have a counter to the boo-hoo goblin emote. This one starts out like the normal one, but then he gets slapped and he starts crying. But there's more. There are some exclusive ones that release with the card skins. These are one from the gacha system and are basically matching emotes. Like here we have the wizard in his black hood from the skin and the golden P.E.K.K.A. Speaking of cosmetics though, there is a couple more. Banners, they are also matching the skins, and it's just sort of like a tie-in to that. And finally, exclusive badges that we in the global version will never see because they are for the game modes that are exclusive to that version. Alright, I've ignored it enough. You might have noticed that the shop looks different than ours. Global version is just one page that has a continuous scroll. It never ends these days, but yeah. But in the Chinese version, it's got a bunch of tabs. Everything is neatly tucked away in its own little corner. This is the special offers, items, cards, and currencies. I've shown a lot of it already, but in the special offer tab, we have the usual offers for like magic items and cards, but also some exclusives that we don't have, like the keys. In the items tab, you can buy chests, emotes, and in the middle, this one is like the emotes tab, but the ones you buy with real money. The chest tab is where you spend all those keys for all them chests. Each tab is just a different rarity for all the keys. And finally, the currency tab. Here you buy gems and gold, but also tickets. And an interesting thing about the shop here is that in the offers tab, there's a extra sub tab for the creator code. Inputting one unlocks a discount. It's not a 95% discount like it looks like. Instead, that's what you'll be paying. So it's essentially a 5% discount on certain offers. In the global version, the creator code does not function this way. I don't think it ever will, honestly. But yeah, it would be cool to see this one day. Give a nice little reason to even put a creator code in the first place. By the way, mine is Code Havoc if you want to support my channel. Thank you very much. Alright, let's switch gears here a bit. You may or may not have noticed that in gameplay, the sudden death colors are blue. That goes for the glow around the borders and the timer. They changed this because in the game, sudden death is usually linked to negative emotions, so like stress or pressure, right? If the border was red, those negative feelings would be associated with the color red, which would negatively impact the government since they don't want the color of their political party and ideology to be viewed as bad. So they made it blue. This may also explain why the void spell is a different color, though just the art. I don't know if that's the case, but here it's orange and ours is red. Another random change is that fire spirits have some sort of like glow or sparkle when being defeated. This death animation is unique to the Chinese version, as the rest of the world just gets the usual explode into elixir type deal. Alright, in the global version, we have just the news tab, right? This is where all the news comes in, and we don't have any other news tab. But in China, as we discussed, they have a news in the events tab now, but also a third news tab accessible from the home screen, and it basically just has a bunch of news. But the most interesting thing in here is that there is a page that features the top 20 decks of the season. In the leaderboards, we have a button to change from global to local, but since the Chinese version is only playable in China, those buttons are missing. The leaderboards is the same for everyone. And hey, once upon a time, we used to get something called the Hockey Bank. However, it hasn't appeared since April 2025. Back then, they said it would now live in the shop, but it looks like they forgot to say in the Chinese shop because it's there and not in ours. Another difference is how you access the game. In our version, it simply starts you right in the tutorial when you first open it, but here you're presented with a login screen. Once logged in, it still shows you this screen every time you get on the game, but only for a couple seconds. But speaking of login, we have a Supercell ID, but they do not. You can only log in using WeChat and a QQ account. This also looks different in the settings. We have an entire section for Supercell ID, but theirs is missing that, and instead tells you what service you are using, and it has a logout button. But now that we're in the settings, we can change the language at any time. There is a button for it and dozens of languages. But in China, there is no such button. The game is locked to its localized version, so what you see is what you get. And finally, I wanted to look at the More Settings tab. They pretty much have everything we have. This is an older picture, but it's the same today. Except they also have some extra privacy settings when you scroll down. You can toggle your profile to be hidden, so when players visit you, it's blank. You can opt out of leaderboard participation and toggle whether other players can spectate you or not. Interestingly, when you first open the game, those extra toggles are off by default, and a pop-up will ask if you want to turn them on. But yeah, those are 25 differences between the global and Chinese version of Clash Royale. Obviously, there are probably other smaller changes, but those are the main ones. And I hope you all enjoyed. But hey, before we go, YouTube thinks you'll like this next video, so why don't you check it out. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!